on Scarborough, man.
Yeah,
on Scarborough.
Look, man. Welcome to Unpacking. This is your boy, Just Fresh, and I have my guest here with me, the poetic, the profound Bee Tap herself. And I'm gonna let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about, her little things that she do.
Oh, well, like he said, I'm Bee Tap Speaks. I am a poet, spoken word artist, consciously tapped in host, a mom, a friend. After that, it just kind of dwindles.
She a bully, so she be picking on me.
A taco connoisseur.
Taco connoisseur.
We on the south side right now.
See, that's what I'm talking about. She be on the south side. She be talking down on the south side. South still for Lil. South still hard.
Oh, man.
Let's unpack why you hate the south side. Let's talk about that now, right? But no, okay, so I met Bee Tap I met you in person when I did your photo shoot. Almost about a year ago, almost. And then we just had a rapport we had a kind of a rapport with each other before that, and then even more so now, especially because we have a bunch of intersecting friends.
Absolutely.
And the last time I saw you was at Monet's event for domestic violence awareness, and it was about battle buddies and stuff like that. You did this poem where you talked about, about domestic violence and about overcoming and getting through a situation. And so I want to kind of talk about that a little bit and tell me about, have you ever dealt with something like that? Or do you have any friends of course you're friends with Monet. So, tell me how it is dealing with having a friend that's going through that and how tough it is to be able to kind of maneuver through that.
I've had even like family, deal with it. And Monet is pretty much considered a sister because that's my sister's best friend since they were like middle school.
Okay.
And so it's hard. It's tough when you see people that you love and you see the red flags, and they ignore them and they make excuses. And it has a lot to do with that. I feel like lack of self-love, and all you can do is just try to speak to them, try to tell them and instill in them, hey, you deserve better than this. I see all the things that you could be doing, but this is holding you back. Like, this isn't safe. You can say a million things, but they have to want to get out of it for themselves. And I think that's the toughest thing. That's the toughest thing.
Yeah. And see, so, because I was there filming, I was there working, but I grew up in a household where there was domestic violence. My dad was very abusive to my mom. And one of the things that I remember most vividly when my brother was just a baby, he got mad at my mom for something and threw a cup. Remember those cups they used to see like when you go to Shoney's, whatever, it's like those red kind of like see-through plastic cups. And this one was a brown color. And he got mad and it had something in it. He took it and he threw it at her, but he missed her and hit my brother in the head. And to this day, he still has like a gash on his forehead. He was just a baby, and I remember them taking him to the ER, and I remember them wrapping him. Like when they have babies and they want to get baby stitches, they put him in like this kind of like, it almost like a straitjacket type thing. They don't want the baby to move, and they're having to give the baby stitches. And so you can imagine how difficult that is. And I always tell everybody when I tell them this story, from that point on, I always viewed my dad as a monster. And he was abusive to my mom. Like, I don't even remember how she got out of the situation. I just remember that she always told me that one day she decided to fight back. And she wanted out, but he would, he beat her for years, and she would keep going back. My uncle and them would come over there and beat him up. My grandpa, all of them come beat him up. And then she would go back.
Yeah.
And so that's, that's a very real thing about it. Said they have to want to get out of the situation. And then also, like, a lot of people don't know cops are killed more on domestic violence calls than any other calls.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that.
And it's tough because you put yourself in that situation and they come in to arrest the dude. And she's like, no, don't arrest him. I don't want him to go to jail. Like, man, he just blacked your eye. He got your mouth bloody. He didn't beat your kids. He didn't beat you. Like, why you don't want him to go to jail? So now in Texas, they automatically file charges against the person that beat you.
Like
you don't need your consent or nothing. Like, you put your hands on somebody, boom, you out of there.
Yeah.
So now, would you having, dealt with that closely with family members and everything, has that ever made you kind of like more apprehensive to a potential mate if you notice certain red flags that you might have noticed in their partners?
Absolutely. Just if I've ever encountered anyone that, starting off, like, if there's a lack of respect a certain way. Like I feel like if somebody like hang up in your face when they mad, just certain little things, because if how they treat you at the beginning is they're already showing you that those things, you have to know that it's only going to escalate, it's only going to get worse, and so I pay very close attention to how someone talks to me, the words that they use when they're regarding me, their actions, all of that, and I'm just lucky to not have experienced anything related to domestic abuse. I feel like I'm a strong enough person to not ever accept anything like that.
Because when people tell, like when I've heard stories, I mean, of course I've seen it firsthand, but when people tell me their stories, because I wasn't there at the beginning when my mom and my dad first started talking, so it's very like it kind of gets lost in the mix because I only know the part that I saw and not the origin of it all. Mm-hmm. But whenever somebody tells me the story, it never start. It's like somebody switches. Like I watched The Color Purple. Sweet. Yeah, I watched The Color Purple for the first time the other day. And,
I saw you.
Yeah. And so it was interesting because Mr. got mad because she said, "Well, it's hurting her." Uh-huh. And for what's weird is, and I was like, and this is weird because I know this is a trigger inside of me because I know about abuse. Mm-hmm. But like when she talked back to him, and then he looked at her, I was like, he finna hit her. I have never seen this movie, but I was like, he finna hit her. Yeah. And I was like, what made that trigger in my mind for me to think that she said something back to him, he finna get mad and just hit her? I'm like, out of all things, why did my mind go there? And it's for a lot of us, I think, because I'm very big about that. I was in an abusive relationship. Now that sounds crazy to say for a guy, but I was in an abusive relationship. I dated somebody who liked to put their hand, like. But
women are crazy.
Yeah, and so it was just like, at first he just like, oh,
She's
whatever.
Just
and one day she just like decked me, and I was just like, how do I handle this? Because you didn't hit me a little too hard, fam, and I can fight. So it was like, I don't really know what to do in this situation. And for a guy, that's even tougher when somebody kind of approaches you that way, because pretty much you can overpower. Not too many dudes date women that can overpower them. Yeah. So it's just like, it's weird because I know I can overpower you, and then you're hitting me. Not only are you hitting me, you're hitting me in my face. It's like, that's fight or flight off the rip. Yeah. So luckily I didn't have to put my hands on that person.
Can I ask you something?
Go ahead.
So did that person grow up in an abusive household?
Yeah. Oh. Her mom was very toxic. Her mom was very controlling and manipulative. Very, like, her mom was on drugs, so she kind of got sold to drug dealers. And it was like a lot of stuff. And then she was just very volatile just in her state, because it would just like flip, because the way that situation even happened was just like weird. She said something smart to me. I said something smart back to her. I got the better of her, so she ain't like that, and she decided to, do a thing, and I'm just like, And my mom was there. And my mom loved her to death. Oh. But so for me, it was like I didn't hit her, but what I did was I pushed her, but I pushed her so hard she went through, in apartments, they got them little cheap, like, not the blinds, them cheap doors, them like cheap, like really cheap doors in the apartments. They like flimsy, like when like in the regular door. So like, it's just like, it ain't nothing in between it. It's literally like this little bitty piece of sheet rock or whatever, like this little thin piece of shit rock.
This one was on the south side.
Yeah, exactly, it was. But now these those like real cheap apartment doors. And I was in my room, and there was like a couch in my room. And she got mad at me because I said something, and I hate tea. At that time, I hated the taste of tea, and it was raspberry tea. And she got mad. Yeah, she got mad, and she just.
Y'all got it.
This is the meme of the girl who got knocked through the wall.
Yeah, exactly. And so she got mad at me, and she threw the tea in my face, and then she punched me, and I'm just like.
Was it sweet tea or hot tea?
It wasn't even like, I didn't like the taste of tea, so it could have been sweet, whatever. I did not like the taste. I like tea now, which is weird, a sweet tea. But I did not like tea at the time. It was so nasty to me. So that was so disrespectful. I didn't deserve that. Like, this was before Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. So, there wasn't no time. I'm like, damn, I ain't even, like, I used to see white women do that on movies and stuff. Like, you just white woman me. Like, that was like real hard for me to like try to even process in that moment. And then on top of that, that was like almost the week after my prom, and she ruined my prom. So
wait, y'all like teenagers?
Yeah, we was teenagers. So it was like, so that's the only woman that I've ever had to actually like physically put my hands on. And when I pushed her, I'm very strong, but I'm not aware of my strength. So I'm just like, let me get her away from me. And I pushed her, and she went through the door. That's how I know this is a cheap door, because this door broke like if you just threw a glass Coke bottle on the ground. I was like, damn, she went through that door easy in the mother. But she hopped back up though. She resilient, and we still was thinking she real resilient. So that was, that stuff. And that's the thing, is that looking back at it, it's funny, but at the time I was I'm surprised I didn't punch her, because I was pissed at the moment. Like, I ripped up all the prom pictures and threw them out the door.
Oh, so how did that change relationships for you?
I never ever dated any woman that I felt was argumentative after that. Any woman that I felt that was like combative or like,
because there's a difference of communicating to listen and come to a solution rather than arguing for someone to win, because nobody wins.
And that's the thing, is that for me, she said something about, because it was something about some girl that we went to school with, and I was like, oh yeah, I used to have a crush on her, and she was like, oh, you like ugly girls, and I took offense to that. I was like, you say that like you like cute or something, like, but I was just joking.
Reiterate.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I'm like, you say that like you was cute, and she was cute, but I'm just like, you trying to insult me, and the girl wasn't ugly, but I'm just like, you just let me crack this little joke on you. I joke all the time, but she just couldn't take the joke or whatever. She's from the country too, so I don't know, maybe it didn't come across well because she ain't from the South Side. She's from the country, like the North. Sometimes it don't go well. But that was a very after that, like I said, I never like any woman that I felt was like argumentative, combative. If their thing was when they got mad, they were more prone to like start yelling and like try to get in your face. I'm like, off that. I would like did that quick. I'm like, that was an instant red flag for me. I'm like, the next person hit me, I might not react the right way, and so I don't want to have to knock you out. I'm not talking to you for your benefit, because I'm gonna win. That was that.
But that's good, because sometimes when that's what you're, I guess, used to, one, from childhood, and so your mind is already kind of developed, like you said, that triggered when you were watching the movie, and then to experience that firsthand, some people get like attracted to that type of toxicity, and so it's good that you were able to be like, nah, I know this is not, I know that's not what I want,
Okay, well, let's talk about that, though. You're being attracted to toxicity. Because I lived in chaos for a while, because I used to think that somebody that was extremely like those people, they'd be like, why you commenting on this? Why you liking that? Ooh. Who you talking to? I used to think that if they didn't do that, I used to think that if a woman wasn't jealous, she didn't love you. Like, she wasn't about you. So if your woman ain't like, and there's memes that go around like that, like your girl ain't checking your phone and she ain't in your, like, looking at your DMs and stuff, she don't love you. It's just like, that's what it is. Yeah, and so it was like, that was like a real thought for me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why you gonna be like checking my shit? Why you gonna be like, whatever? Yeah,
like you don't think other people want me?
I'm heralded out here. You know what I'm saying? Act like it. So that's a very real thing for people. Have you ever been attracted to toxicity?
I used to be that person. I went through cell phones. I've confronted about cell phones, broken up about cell phones, or messaging, and whatever I found. What they say, woman's intuition, whatever. I found it, and
found what you're looking for,
and then stayed. Stayed
smart.
You said smart.
I said you didn't stay.
No, I said I stayed.
And then stayed.
He said you smart.
It sound like didn't stay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, no. I mean, and that's like, I'm 27. And so this is me being young and just like, but I love him, and we gonna make it work, and okay, prove yourself to me. And it's just like, somebody that like genuinely loves you, won't do those things. But I feel like I had this pattern of, it's not cliche. It is not cliche. It is real. When girls, I guess, or women can sometimes attract themselves to like men that they can relate to their father. So when that comes to broken promises, inconsistency. And for me, I'll speak for myself personally, which I kind of spoke on before. I think it was a matter of, I like a challenge. And so if I feel like I can gain everything that I've been giving you, and we can overcome what I told you don't do to me no more, don't hurt me like this no more, and you finally get it right, it's like, yes, like you saw it, like you saw my work. I had to get outside of that. I had to get outside of that.
Because it's not about them seeing your worth, it's about you seeing your worth. Mm-hmm. And that way, and that's the whole thing.
But what's interesting, though, is that that's something I finally was able to kind of combat this year with myself, because you heavily rely on the fact that somebody else is going to show you the way or the amount of love you should be worthy of. Mm-hmm. And so then what happens is you attach yourself to things and situations, and you're like, okay, just if you love me a lot, that means I'm worth something. If you don't love me a lot, then it's probably, it's something wrong with me. I'm not doing something right. Mm-hmm. So I was always a fixer. If I always felt something was wrong, if somebody wasn't like talking to me a certain way or interacting with me in a certain way, I'm just like, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? And never ever thought to think, what's wrong with them? It's just like, maybe there's something wrong with them, but it's like, no, I'm the issue. And it took me a long time to just step back and realize that some people are just not as effective at communicating as you are. Some people are just not like you are. Some people love differently. Some people give love differently. And so you have to kind of find people that line up with your frequency in order for that to work. But a lot of times, like, I've always felt like in the majority of relationships that I've ever been in, I've always liked the person more than they like me. Mm-hmm. It's been very few relationships that I've been in that I've felt opposite.
So I said the very exact thing, and that goes back to, I would call my dad a lot more. I mean, you listen, and so. It wasn't until I was thinking about that, I'm like, man, that's like me and this person. That's like me and my ex, or the person that I'm with now. And I think it's just crazy how that can, I guess, kind of happen, the circle of that.
I was just talking about this the other day, and I was like, I wonder where that stems from. And the fact that you just said that you used to call your dad more, I'm like, shit, that's where it stems from. I hung on my dad's every word. My dad said, hey, I'm going to be there Sunday. I'm bringing these shoes. I'm going to get you these shoes. I'm going to get you this. I'm going to do that. Or whatever. I was like, I'll be outside waiting. My daddy coming. He coming to pick me up. He coming to bring me the shoes. And he was calling. Then boom. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Oh, here's 8 o'clock. Oh, it's the next day. He ain't came. Oh, he going to come. And my mom would be like just don't have hope for him. But I would just hang on. I was probably a teenager by the time that I finally let go of the fact that, like, my dad just was going to let me down a lot. And because I always just heavily, I was like, man, I had a whole mental breakdown my senior year of high school. And it was the morning before I was supposed to go to school. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning. And we were supposed to be catching the bus at like 6:30, and I couldn't sleep that night. It was just something like real heavy on my soul. And I remember I went outside the apartment, the same apartment where I had to push the girl through the door. So, so we did that a long time. The door. You know what I'm saying? The door is fixed at this point. But I was sitting on the steps, and I remember I was like, why my dad don't want me? Why he don't want to spend time with me? Why he don't want to be a father to me? And I couldn't stop crying. Like, my mom had to, like, come outside and console, because she came in my room looking for me to wake me up for school. And she had to come outside and console me, because I could just not, I couldn't stop crying, because I was just, like, broken up about that. And it was just like, I've done everything that I'm supposed to do. And it's crazy as a child to feel like you're the one that's supposed to prepare the relationship with your
worth as to why you should be my father, why you should be in my life.
Yeah, and that was, oh man, I carried that with me till he died. Like, he actually, like, later on, after he didn't have money no more, because, like, this is the thing. So my dad wasn't a good father, but my dad always had nice stuff. So when he would come through, he would pull up in apartments. He had a Suburban with the rims on it, the bang in it, the PlayStation 4 in the back. So I'm like, that's my daddy. That's my daddy. So I'm like, look at my daddy. Look at my daddy. And so,
what's your daddy?
Right. So yeah, he, like, it was, like, crazy to me, because that was, like, my bragging rights. So it was like, yeah, he wasn't a good dad, but yeah, he got that Mazda Millennium with the rims on it. He got that Suburban with the rims on it. He got that Tahoe with the rims on it. And it was like, he was always clean. He had the little fresh linens, dressed like a Colombian drug dealer or whatever. But he was always real neat and clean. My dad was a neat freak, kept his house nice. He always had nice things, but we ain't had shit. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? My mom was struggling raising 4 kids by herself. He was two by him. And, like, my mom, she would call him and be like, hey, I got all the school clothes and everything. I just need you to go half with me to get their shoes or whatever. And he would just be like, don't fucking call me asking about no shoes. And you think I'm out here trying to support basketball players for it? They can go to Payless and get some shoes, and, like, talk crazy to her. So insane. Yeah. So when I was 16, he called one time she called him one time to ask him about some shoes. He started cussing out, and I took the phone, and I was like, "This is the last time you're gonna talk crazy to my mama. You can come over here right now, and I'll beat your ass." And I sat on the steps for him, ready to beat his ass. He didn't show up, just like always. Oh, nigga ain't show up to give me gifts, and he ain't show up to get his ass beat. You know what I'm saying? That's probably why he ain't here now. You know what I'm saying? Nigga ducking the fade. But you know, but that was so. It's like that's funny. That full circle. Like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
growth. But yeah, that's a very. So it's like I never thought about that until now. That's probably where that stems from. Because I hung on everything he said, and I was so hopeful for that relationship to work out until I was just like, all right, fuck it.
This is scary.
Yeah.
This is, and it's sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's sad that it's so relatable. You know, if nothing else.
So do you still have a rocky relationship with your dad?
I haven't spoken to him. Has it been a year already? Probably,
I thought you were gonna say longer. That ain't, you know.
I mean, and prior to, like, remember, like when I recorded that Daddy Issues segment.
Oh, that was a good episode.
Like,
y'all should check that out.
Thank you. That's sad.
That was a good episode. I mean, this one was real.
Thank you. You know, but so even prior to, there wasn't like a full blown just, you know, relationship or anything. But I think the last time that I spoke to him was when he misspelled my name in that text message.
Oh my
And he usually,
goodness.
when he would text me, he would usually hit me with the "Hey baby," "Hey sweetie," you know, like the cute little nicknames. And he said, "Hey Brittany, something, 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 something." And I was like, I put the little asterisk and I corrected my name, you know, and I was just like, I don't know nothing about that or whatever. And then he was like, "Oh, my bad," or something, like my bad on the
So yes, I'm wondering if all like kind of like deadbeat bad fathers do that, because my dad did that to me one time,
Just
but not my name.
So
He was like, no, he was like, yeah, this is my son. He getting ready to turn 18. I'm like, nigga, I'm 16. I'm like, you don't know my age, man. I was like, I had to start adding on mine. Let me count. 1984.
Maybe I'm in sleep for 2
like,
years.
I'm just like, what's going on? Like, so yeah, he very much like, and he would always get mad. He would always say, "Why you didn't call me for my birthday?" Like, nigga, what? Like,
no way.
I legit didn't know when his birthday was.
Are you serious?
That's how. So here's the thing. My dad
dad
has a whole sister that lives in the city of Houston that's been here probably since I was a teenager, right? And I didn't meet her until he was in the hospital about 3 or 4 years ago. Put it like this: we grew up around the same neighborhood, same areas, or whatever. Me and her probably could have dated. She was very much my type. So this is when she's cool with a lot, like some of my exes and whatever. I'm just like, how the fuck, I don't know. This is my aunt. This is my aunt. We're like the same age. And I'm just like, and that's why family reunions are important. Okay? Very important, because I'm like, I didn't meet none of his, like a lot of his family until he died. We had the funeral and I'm meeting all these people or whatever. But yeah, and it was, I'm just like, yo. And it was so weird because I'm just like, you just never know who you'll cross paths with. But that's the thing. That's how, like, much like how close I wasn't to my dad, because I only know his mama, her husband, my sister, and then that was about it. I met his dad when I was in Vegas. Me and my wife went to Vegas one year, and I met him as a kid, but I don't remember meeting him as a kid. But as an adult, I met him again when we went to Vegas that year. We had lunch with him on the strip at Denny's or whatever, and then he passed not too much longer after that. But his dad was kind of like that with him as well. So it's like weird. It's like this generational thing. And then like watching those things kind of unfold. Because like a lot of stuff like with my mom, I think that her being accepting of the abuse that my dad, how he was towards her, came from how my grandma treated her, because she was very abusive and emotionally and physically to her. Yeah. So it's like, oh, well, this is kind of the norm. So that this is what I saw.
So this is how it works.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I didn't understand with my father. And hold on, let me just say this first quick. Like my aunt, his sister, and my uncle, I'm extremely close to. You know, I lived with my aunt after like my breakup for a little bit. She let me move in and everything. So it's crazy, you know, how that can be, and with my uncle. But anyways, my grandparents were together up until they passed. And so that was like, because that's not the narrative that you used to. Like, you grew up in a household where your parents have been married all of your life. And I take it because I seen my grandparents, they were loving, and my grandpa loved my grandmother, and my grandmother loved my grandpa. So it just makes you think like, well, how did you not, you know? Yeah. And I guess I got to think too, him and, you know, my mother got together at a young age where they weren't really like, you know, when you're young, you don't really know what love is or whatever. And then bam, y'all have a baby and it's just like there wasn't that attachment per se. And so, but now you got this kid. So that's how I just chalk it up to that. I never, you know, asked my mom about it or was able to have that conversation with him because I don't think he would respond to it, or I don't know. I don't know how my dad is in conversations. But
that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
That's right there.
Like to not know, like my dad would always get mad. He would always be like, you know what I'm saying, why I don't like call and talk to him, or like why I don't answer the phone when he called.
How would you respond when he did that?
I told him, I said, if you knew me, you would know, one, I don't like talking on the phone. Two, I don't like small talk. So we don't have a relationship, so we don't have anything in depth to talk about. Like my mom, I could talk to her about anything. You talk about life, sex, whatever. I could talk to my mom about anything. I talk to my mama. My mama calls and asks me for relationship advice. That's how like close we are. My mom to this day sometimes won't even call me to tell me anything because she says I act like I'm her daddy. And she know I'm a fuss. So like my mom, and I'm the oldest, so I was like, I had to kind of be like, when I went through therapy, that's one thing I learned. It was like I became like my mom's phantom husband because I had to become responsible at a very young age because of the fact that like my dad wasn't there, and then my brother's dad, he wasn't there. So it was like I had to bear the burden of what they didn't do. And that in turn turned into this whole thing of like me becoming like the man of the house and paying bills at 17. And like I learned how to be responsible before I learned how to be happy. And that's very vital because most people they learn survival before they learn anything else. And so I'm really good at paying bills and taking care of business, but I wasn't really good at taking care of myself. And I didn't learn that. I'm learning that now. Like at 35, I'm learning now. Take care of yourself, figure out what's going on with you, how you feel before you can take care of everybody else. And my thing was, I had money at the time, so it was like, okay, somebody what you need? Okay, I got you. That's what made me feel good. It was like, okay, cool. As long as they good, then I'm good. Because everybody around me good, and they rely on me, so I'm like the man.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have anything inward to like bounce off of myself other than how everybody else viewed me.
Do you think that if you were with those moments where your father would complain about how you not taking care of him, do you think that it would have been more helpful for you to say, you're not taking care of me, to finally address that he is failing on his part?
I do regret not having the full-on conversation with him before he passed. I cried when he died, which I always thought I wouldn't. But when I went to the hospital and I saw him there and he was in the hospital bed and he was gone when I got there. And so I didn't think it was going to hit me like it did, but it did because I love my dad. I just didn't have a relationship with him. And it was tough because all those feelings from when I was a kid came back because I always wanted to be close to my dad until I didn't. It was just like, I get very busy in my work life. So I'll tend to like block out a bunch of things and like move through spaces, not talking to people. Like I don't talk to my mom every day now. So it's just like when I'm busy and I'm doing something, I kind of be locked in and focus on that. And his thing was he would just think I'm ignoring him. I am, but I'm also not talking to you because I'm busy. And I don't like, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Like, I don't like, what you call it, but I have a video I actually made about, because my wife, she has a little brother and sister, and their dad passed from cancer when they were like 5, 6 or whatever. So I could be wrong about that age. It might be a little bit older. But I have a video.
18.
Yeah, right? Exactly. But I have a video where I talk about how I regret not trying to mend the relationship with my dad because they are going to grow up without a dad. And they don't have that relationship with their dad because he's gone. He was passed from cancer. So I was like, it was interesting to see the different dynamic of somebody that having a dad that was there than me kind of having a dad that wasn't, and me like my pride wouldn't let me mend my relationship.
But it's not your responsibility.
I was about to say,
it was my responsibility to forgive him. It wasn't my responsibility to try to fix the entire relationship.
Yeah.
And I never,
especially when that's all you've ever done. You've been the chaser, and you got to stop at some point.
Yeah, eventually chasing somebody who won't give you the high you're looking for is going to eat away at you on the inside.
Yeah. And it also bothered me that like he waited until he didn't have shit to try to repair the relationship.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what's crazy. Like the last promise that my dad broke to me that stuck with me super tough, that made me kind of like hate him was, I remember he told me that if I came up whatever this amount of money was, he would match me and he would help me get a car. My dad sold cars all his life. Right?
Oh my God.
So he sold cars all his life.
So, of course, going off that.
I'm like, yeah, that's me in there. So I'm like, boom. I'm working at Ocean. I'm clocking the overtime hours. You know what I'm saying? I'm ready. So I done got me like $1,300-$1,400. I'm like ready. I'm like, cool, Dad. I got it. This is an amount of money. I found this dealership in Katy, and they got this Mitsubishi Eclipse. It was like a '93 Mitsubishi Eclipse. And I was like, I want it. Cool car. Yeah, I was like, I want it. This was like an '02 at the time too. So this is not, they call old. But I was like, but I want this Mitsubishi Eclipse. You know what I'm saying? And so I told him, I was like, it's only $2,100. All I need from you is $800, and I can get the car or whatever, and then just that. This $800, that was it, because he told me he would match me. So I called him, and he was like, yeah, man, money kind of funny right now. I can't this and that or whatever. I'm just like, man, but you promised me or whatever. And he was just like, yeah, I can't even do it right now. You're going to have to figure it out yourself. And that pissed me off. The very next time that I ever asked my dad for money, he said something to me that would forever change our relationship. I was getting rims for my Dodge Magnum, 2003 Dodge Magnum. And I was getting some rims from Rent-A-Tire. And they needed me to put $200 down to get these rims. Uh-huh. And I called my dad. I was like, yo, can I borrow $200? When I get paid, I'll give it back to you. This nigga said, sell me your gun.
Oh
he was trying to make a trade.
This nigga really said, sell me your gun. Now I'm gonna let you borrow it. Oh yeah, whatever this and that. This is your child. Oh, sell me a gun because he can't have a gun because he's a felon. So you want me to sell you?
This the last person.
I'm like, oh yeah, let me give you this gun so I can go to jail. So yeah, that was the extent of our relationship. Like my dad was always a taker. He was a taker. He never gave shit.
I wish your dad was here to see this.
Oh, he I don't know if they have YouTube in hell. He'll see it. But yeah, that's why. So when people see my videos where I talk about my dad, they was like, "Yo, you're wrong." And I was like, "Man, that dude was he was a piece of shit. Like I love my dad, but that dude was the most." Whew.
And see, I guess I feel conflicted with where I am now because I haven't spoken to him or anything. But just like you said, you have people that lose their fathers, and that had that relationship. And so I'm like, Brittany, you said you forgave him, and you were just going to let it go. When I did that, it was just like I stopped chasing everybody. Like that one relationship allowed me to stop chasing everybody. So it's like, am I going to go back on my word? Am I going to go back on my peace, on my lack of hope that I don't have anymore? All of that just to give it a try. Like for once, you try. Like if you show me that, like if you just hit me up, it's like I'll probably give you my all again. But I don't want to make that step first.
And I think that's fair. I think especially after everything you listed, to risk all of those things for somebody who may or may not show up when you get there, that it's not worth it.
That cycle of rejection.
That balance, that
cycle of
balance.
rejection. That cycle of rejection is real.
And I don't that's why I'm quick to kind of do a Heisman before it's I can get rejected. I'm going to do something, say something to where it's not going to even be an option. Or that's why I don't like asking for stuff. That's why I don't like you got certain people, and it's weird to me when people just be asking me, like somebody hit me up today and it was like, hey, we should do this. And I'm just like, that's weird. Like I would never feel comfortable.
It took me a long time to get past that because I was very prideful about asking people for stuff because I never wanted anybody to be able to hold anything over my head. So, because I never do that. If I give something to somebody, I never be like, man, I did this, and that for, but I'm like, whatever, take that L, move on. But my dad, he was that kind of person. And then I don't want to say the name of it. There's somebody very close to me in life that's been in my life for like years that was like that. And so even like they didn't want to ask this person for anything either because they were just like, no, if we ask them for this, then they gonna do this and they gonna say this, and it would always rear its ugly head. Even if we didn't ask for anything, it was always like, well, I do this for y'all, and I do this and that, and you're just like, bruh, like. If you ask her for something, I never have any problem with that.
What about that? On the other side of the spectrum, when people feel like, I did this for you and I did that for you, what is that energy about?
Entitlement.
Yeah,
because my thing is, so me and my brother, we talk about this a lot because my brother is one of those people, he always overextends himself. But he overextends himself with the aspect that he thinks people are going to return it or be able to reciprocate it. But he's always helping people that are never in a position to reciprocate. So I'm like, you can't get mad if you get. That'd be like you rolling up on the homeless dude under $50. Like, yeah, I gave you $5 last year, fam. I'm hurting right now. Run that. And then being mad because he can't give it back to you. Like, fam, that's not how that works. And I would tell him, I was like, stop giving to people if you're expecting something back in return. And I've come across a lot of people like that. Sadly enough, I let a lot of people use me. And I let a lot of people use me because I always wanted to feel like I belonged and like I was a part of something and I was useful and I was needed. And so it took years for me to kind of like move past that point in my life and be like, all right, you got to stop doing this. Like, just because you're doing something for somebody, they're not going to look at you this certain way. They're not going to treat you a certain way. And you got to kind of put your foot down and be like, look, whatever, let them figure it out. And so what changed my life is when in 2010, I started working out with this trainer. His name was Mr. Larry, old dude. He was like 50 something, but he was yoked up. He used to be a bodybuilder. And Q, my wife, she used to call him my dad. She was like, oh, your dad calling, your dad, this and that. And so, like, he was this very, like, blunt. He was like one of those people, he was like, man, let grown folks figure out grown folks' business. He was like, you can't rescue everybody, you can't save everybody, you keep taking bricks from your house to get at them, what you gonna have left? And I was one of those people, I was always trying to figure out everything for everybody, what they need to do. You call me with a problem, and I'm just like, oh, well, okay, well, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this, let's do that. And it was like, I'm always trying to fix stuff or whatever. Which, it was weird is that it was years before I ever encountered somebody that was like, no, I don't need you to help me, I just need you to vent. I just need you to vent. I didn't know, let's listen, let me vent. I'm like, oh, okay, you don't need me to fix anything. And it felt weird, because I'm just like, let me get to that. But his whole thing was like, take care of you, focus on you, let everybody else figure it out. He said, because at the end of the day, if you don't have it, then what would they do in the first place? They're going to figure it out. So it was like, you can't always be everything to everybody. And that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to be everything to everybody. And I was nothing to myself.
And nobody was helping you replace that.
And see, for me, I thought I was fine because I had cars and I had all the shoes and I had the clothes and I had some money in my bank account. So I was good, you know. And what's funny is that when I started to lose my money and I had to downgrade in cars and sold the house, it was just like I had to actually, like, things started to be stripped away from me. Then I had to figure out who I was here versus what I had on, what I was wearing, what I was driving. And even though I'm like, I don't believe like that or whatever, but the scripture of like manna about daily bread was very important because they're like, well, God will give you just enough to make it through the day. And sometimes we're so used to like operating in like surplus that that surplus becomes what we identify with versus who we are on the inside. And I heavily identify with all my external things for a very long time. I didn't know, as long as I could post my little kicks of the day and my shirt and my shoes, I was good. I'm like, oh, people think I'm fly, I'm getting these likes or whatever. And I was unhappy as hell. Like that period of my life, I had all this money, all this stuff. I was unhappy.
So you are like writing out the outlines of my poem. Like it starts out about I am not your God, and I say, where am I going with this, right? You put your hand out more than you put your hands together, get on your knees and pray. Like, you know, people that always beg and beg and beg, and it's like, bro, like that's what you go to on Skybro for. But and then further along, I say, you know, I got to a point where I'm watching everything around me disappear. Like everything that was mine and this person, this thing, my apartment, this, that, everything's just like disappearing. And so like hearing this, it's crazy, man. It's crazy. We all experience it.
Yeah. And see, now we're all going to be faced with tests no matter what. So we're going to be faced with some type of test. I was tested today. Like every day you go through something, you deal with something. But for a long time, because I had money, I was able to throw money at a situation and be like, okay, cool, and take it. Oh, this, okay, cool. It was like it was nothing. And then it's weird when you have to act like when you're forced to become frugal and you have to like look at things like being broke will make you look at things in a very resourceful way. Like, what is the best option for me to be able to solve this? But it taught me a lot about myself too, because it's like I didn't know how to. It was weird because I grew up being broke. I grew up being poor. What's weird is that my mom, and she'll probably hear this story for the first time when she watches the episode. She watches everything that I do. But the thing that made me afraid to ever struggle was, I remember I was at my grandma's house, I was 14, and my uncle told me that my mama wasn't shit, and I was never going to be shit because she ain't shit.
Oh, wow, this is like,
something straight out of
Yeah, and he said
That's what
that.
he
So he was like, "You going?" So he said, "You gonna always struggle because she struggled." And I can't remember. He was pissed off about it. My uncle's crazy as shit. Like that motherfucker, real life crazy. Like everybody that met him, be like, anybody that know my uncle Bo, no, Bo off in rocker. So that was like, I was like deathly afraid to struggle. And then when I was in college, I was going to TSU. I came home one day, and my mom was crying, but she was sitting in the dark, and I didn't know what was going on with the flip the light, and the lights were off. And I had just got my refund check from school, and I gave her my refund check. I didn't even buy my books or anything that semester. I was using this like girl books or whatever so I could like get through the semester because I was just like, Mama need the money, and so I gave her my refund check so she could take care of everything. And that I had ended up leaving school so I could help at home, and I never went back. But it was like I was so focused on like the fact that I was like, I never want to know what that feeling is like. I never want to pay anything late. I used to pay my car note like 3, 4, 5 months ahead. I used to always have credits on my light bill. Like I was so afraid of something being cut off, something being paid late. Yeah. Like fear made me ultra responsible. And at the same time, I also was afraid to take risks because of my fear of being ultra responsible. It was like, if I decide I'm gonna go be a music producer and I don't make no money doing it, then I'll never be able to, what I'm gonna do, or I can't
pay my bills on
time. I'm gonna be a
early.
photographer, a videographer. How I'm gonna do that? Because if I don't get this amount of money, and this year when I walked away from my job, I literally didn't have a bunch of money saved up. I was just like, I'm sick of this shit. I was like, it was my first year really taking a real risk with my career, with my path and my trajectory. Man. And it's been great. And it had like June and July was tough. I ain't gonna lie, your boy was on Indeed and Monster. Like when you post up these resumes real quick, I do want to kick myself in the ass though, because I did not think about doing Uber or Lyft, anything like that, which is such.
I've done Uber.
Yeah, and it was so stupid. But it was like I didn't think. I don't know why I didn't. I think it's because I don't like to drive that it didn't cross my mind, because I was just like, man, you could have went in, got that little extra money here or there. But it's just like sometimes like, the more I've learned to clear my mind, the more I'm able to look at different solutions. So like for the longest time, my mind was always like fixated on one thing. My dad was homeless at one point, and he was homeless because all he wanted to do was sell cars, and he couldn't get another job selling cars. Or what if he had burned some bridges with some different people that owned dealerships, so he couldn't get another job selling cars. He was having a hard time. And he literally let himself go broke because he wanted to do what he wanted to do, and he didn't want to do nothing else.
Move to another city.
Yeah, but my thing is that, bro, you can do anything. Then we were trying to convince him to go file for like disability or whatever. He had too much pride to go do that. So I'm just like, I guess you want to be broke, fam. You got to figure something out because you can't come stay with me, and you need some money. You need to go stay somewhere. So like, look, let me say, this is how I knew that I love my dad, but I ain't fuck with him like that. I rolled up on this dude, and he was asleep at the bus stop. It was nighttime. It was on Bissonnette near Darrien Ashford, and this dude. And he was asleep at the bus stop next to the Burger King. And I don't even remember how I knew he was over there, but I just remember I pulled up and I saw him and I started crying. I was like, he's at the bus stop. And I picked him up. I called his name. He woke up. He was confused. I got him. He grabbed his stuff, put him in the car, and then we went down Highway 6 in Bissonnette. And there's a hotel right there. And I went and dropped him off at the hotel. I'm like, that nigga not coming to my house.
You told this story.
Yeah, that nigga not coming to my house. And I was like, it's crazy how. It's like, I love you, and I love you enough to pay for a hotel for you, but I don't love you enough to come let you uproot my peace, especially because kind of earlier that year I had already went through something where I let some stuff in my household, and it kind of uprooted the peace of my home. So I'm just like, so I called my sister. I'm like, look, your dad, you might want to have to go check on that nigga or something, because he ain't doing too good. And I moved around. I was like, but that's how I knew I was kind of disconnected from him with that. Because that's my mom. I'd be like, what you need, mama?
Now, how easy or hard is it for you now to put that same energy towards something else that you love but may need to let go?
Man, so letting go is a new tool that I'm like learning, because I've never had to let go of people that know I'm getting ready to go through a divorce, and so I've never broken up with anybody. I've never ended a relationship, and a lot of things sometimes I would just let them kind of like, they would just erode instead of like, let's end this before it gets bad. And so this is like a new tool that I'm learning for myself to be able to pull away from things that I feel are toxic for me, are kind of detrimental to my being. And for the longest, I didn't know how to do that. I felt like the bad guy if I decided I was going to protect myself versus letting somebody treat me like shit, or letting somebody walk over me, or feeling like I wasn't wanted, or whatever, feeling like I'm tolerated. And I would just kind of like, all right, cool, I'll just accept whatever somebody's giving me.
So how does it feel?
It's different now. It's I think a lot of people recognize that I seem happier. I am happier.
Really,
It was like yeah, I seem happier.
Yeah.
People like I seem like I hate to say the word free because I don't want to make it seem like I felt like I was a hostage in my marriage, but like me and my wife both have different like mindsets. And so my mindset is that like at the time I'm trying to build a platform, I'm trying to do these things, and like she looks at things a little bit differently, and that's fine. That's what you call it. So it's like sometimes you kind of have to be with somebody where y'all views align on certain subjects and certain matters. And I think people heavily discount that and they try to like force themselves into being something for like an extended period of time.
Compatibility.
Yeah, and forced compatibility. And compatibility is very important. I didn't understand that. And we got married super young.
Be forced.
Yeah, and so it was just like we basically kind of grew up together, and we just grew in kind of like these different paths. We were always kind of different, but we had like a lot of intersection within ourselves. And so as you grow in these different paths, you just start to recognize different things, and she recognized different things. And it was just like, all right. So when I got to the point where it was just like, I don't think this is it. It was sucked because you never really think that you're gonna get to a point where you've been with somebody that long, and then all of a sudden you're no longer in love with that person. And then I sat with it for like weeks before I was able to really put into words how I truly felt with myself. I was literally at a wedding when I finally was able to, I had like typed up this long message, and I'm at a wedding and I'm on a break at the wedding, and I'm typing up this long message about how I feel and how things have been or whatever. And I'm looking at it and I'm reading it, and I'm just like, yo, what the fuck? Like, this is you. Like, this is you thinking this right now. And I never thought that. And when you just like learn to start trying to pull away from things, and it was just like, for me, it wasn't like I said, it wasn't like she was holding me captive or whatever. I don't really care what people think. I'm gonna say what I want to say, operate the way I want to operate, because at the end of the day, you can do everything perfect and people gonna still talk shit. Like, people used to talk, like, I know for sure, I know for a fact, because people have told me that people would talk shit about us because we made everything seem like our relationship was perfect. But if you are like most black people and you're a Christian, you should know about covering. Covering is a real thing in relationships. I don't care what's going on in your relationship. It's always supposed to look good to everybody else. Now, when y'all behind closed doors, y'all fix whatever y'all supposed to fix. But ain't nobody supposed to be knowing that y'all unhappy with each other or whatever, this and that, unless y'all breaking up. And then, of course, people gonna know because y'all broke up. But when we were in that, it was like we covered each other a lot. And I think a lot of it was, too, is that neither one of us really had any example of what a healthy marriage was. So we was learning basically to be married and learning who we were on the inside. Neither one of us, like, she learning who she is right now. I'm learning who I am, and it's different. I think that may be why I seem happier, because it's like I didn't know who I was. Because of me, I was Warren, I'm married. She was Quita, she married. And then it was like operating in this space where it's like, we don't want to step on each other's toes. I don't want to say this and make her mad. She don't want to say this and make me mad. So it's like constantly like shrinking yourself in a marriage to try to make sure that you appease somebody else and make them feel good.
Marriage is it.
Yeah.
The people aren't.
Yeah.
Without the people being together, the marriage can't ever be it.
I should have known we were both a little crazy when, like, in the first 2 years we was talking, people used to always praise us because they'd be like, oh, y'all don't argue and y'all don't fight and whatever this and that. And we didn't. But there was some stuff that we needed to talk about, but we wanted to live up to this
y'all
image.
Didn't want to be confrontational.
You know, so there should have been a lot of things that we should have talked about, but we didn't. We kind of kept it like at bay, because it was just like, man, everybody think we this, and we were trying to like now live up to this image. And man, when it blew up, it blew up. And so that's like this, like anything like with this, like marriages, relationships, with friends or whatever. I see things erode over time, and the number one thing that I've realized is that a lot of people, when those relationships erode, is because they weren't honest with each other throughout the duration of the relationship about whatever and how they felt, and then they break apart, and then that's when it gets ugly, because it's like all this stuff starts to come out when you're mad and when you're upset. Yeah. And so when I went to her and I told her how I felt, I wasn't mad or upset. I was like in this clear state of mind, and the reason I know is because I know two things. When we broke up and when we separated in 2010, I didn't want to be separated, but I made a mistake. And so it was just like, I was still worried about who she talking to and where she at. And she would post certain things on Facebook, and it would be like this, like, kind of like vague stuff. She'd be like, new friends, ... And I'm like, whoa, who is like, who these new friends? And she would just say certain things. And so I knew that like I wasn't ready to leave because I was still so worried about who she talking to and where she was at and whatever. And it took me a while to kind of like process like all of that situation.